It's been a long bastard week, hasn't it?
It bastard has.
It really, really has. Extra long, technically, because, whoa, nearly fell over. Extra long, because we haven't actually recorded, like last time, there was a big gap. Oh, look at all the dog hair on my leg from rolling over once.
Oh my god!
Our dog is molting. It's summer. It's February for you lot, but it's summer for us. Are you watching Doctor Who Review?
It's going out February. Holy
Yeah,
moly,
you're
it's
watching
out next year.
Yep. You're watching Doctor Who Review. I'm Chris.
I'm not Chris.
We're here to talk about episodes of a show we've been binging. And I'm going to have a mini roll at some point during this, so that'll be exciting for me.
Yeah, for you.
Yeah. Not for the viewer, but for me. If you're wondering, why can't we see you? It's a video podcast. You don't have to watch us, that's the point. But if you do watch, occasionally there'll be appearances from a small dog.
Dog, sleeping dog.
Like last time, we watched the 4 episodes quite quickly. We binged them. We had a gay old time. And then, stuff's happened. So we've been so busy. And now we're managing to... We've been ill, we've been krill. We even got shrill. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So...
We took a rhyming class, that's why we've been there.
Brilliant. But because we're still technically sort of in like tiers and lockdown systems at this point, it was just they just mailed out a thesaurus to everybody.
Will this ever end? The insanity.
It'll never
Probably
end.
not. No. Good job, everyone.
Yeah.
Anyway, but Doctor Who's good, isn't it?
It is. Series 4, Part 2. We've got our first 2-parter. A future set story and an historical.
Yes.
So without
and
further
we all
ado-
know.
Oh, we all know what?
We all love a good historical.
Spoilers.
You just said a historical.
Helen Rayner is the writer of our first story, The Sontaran Stratagem and The Poison Sky.
The Poison that's a great name.
It's a great name, isn't it? And The Sontaran Stratagem's a fun one. That sounds like a classic Doctor Who. Doctor Who and The Sontaran Stratagem. That sounds like the Target novel, doesn't it?
It does, rather.
It's pretty great. So the plot of this, Martha Jones. Martha Ruddy Jones, now working for UNIT, gives the Doctor a ring and is like, right, come back, you skinny streaker now. I got a little something for you.
She's got a bit sassy.
Yeah,
Martha.
well, she's engaged to Tom Milligan as well, the handsome Doctor / star of Lucifer in the future, who,
Really?
yeah, it's a Tom something or other. I can't
I've
remember
never
his name
watched
now.
it.
No, he'll hit me eventually.
I've never
Tom
watched
Milligan the character's name? I don't bleeding know. Point is,
Anyway, she's engaged.
yeah, they're investigating the Atmos factory because Atmos is, and this doesn't hit as big in 2021. Yeah, that's the correct. What am I talking about? 2021.
What year did you think it was?
It is 2021, but I've just never said 2021 before until this moment. So suddenly it's like,
Can you say 2021?
yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. Oh
for those watching, 2022.
my god, what the hell? We're living in the future.
It does. Jesus Christ. It doesn't hit the same now as it did in 2008, but in 2008, I remember everyone who had a car was trying to get a sat-nav by that point. Like, sat-navs were a thing, but it was around about that time
But they
that
were
people
massive.
were starting to get them more, and then people started to customise and download voices for them, and, you know, like...
Everybody had Brian Blessed.
Yeah, no, the best ones are Brian Blessed. Squadron 40! So you could, you could latch it onto, there's different bleed fixtures, you could latch it onto your aircon thing, or your heater grid, or
your window.
they started to develop the suction ones for the window, and and it was just like, oh yeah, these are great. So this story's kind of great, because Atmos is a sat-nav. Atmos is a sat-nav that is fixed automatically to most new cars from the last, couple of years, and they're all mandatory, everyone's going to have them in, and there have been a load of Atmos-related deaths in recent weeks. The only thing all the deaths are completely different, except they all happened while someone was in their vehicle, and all those vehicles have Atmos. Those are the only two things that the deaths have in common.
Yeah.
So Martha and UNIT are investigating, and they've gone to the main Atmos factory, which is in the UK. That's where they're examining it. Meanwhile, Atmos is was created by a young prodigy called Luke Rattigan. Played to sort of like absolute, and I mean this as a compliment, absolute cringeworthy brilliance by Ryan Sampson.
Yeah.
Like, Luke is a deeply unpleasant and easily mockable character from how he portrays him. He's a Saturday morning cartoon baddie's sidekick.
Yeah, he's pretentious and he's self-centered and all that nasty, nasty stuff.
Yeah. He is... he's great. And like, as just a character and as a performance. He's slimy and, underhanded. Essentially, Luke created Atmos with some help. Secretly, Atmos has been co-created with the help of the Sontarans, specifically the 10th Sontaran fleet. The whatever it is. Basically, it's a Sontaran story.
It's a Sontaran story.
It's the first appearance of them in the modern era.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, they were planned to debut a bit earlier, but they just kind of wanted to hold off until they found the right story
that
for
makes
them.
sense, yeah.
And the thing is with Sontarans is, it's not like there's a template to work from, per se. Like, The Time Warrior, which we talked about, obviously, bloody 2 years ago now, is one of my favourite classic stories, you know. Blood Axe and Iron Gron and all their barnyard pals. Like, I love that story. And it's great, because it's just, the premise of that, obviously, is, imagine if a knight in shining armour fell from the stars, like, during the period where there are knights and battlements and castles.
Scary.
And do you know what I mean?
And it's a bloody robot.
And he's like, you've got to help me get some... Well, obviously he builds a robot one, doesn't he? But I mean,
Sorry,
the whole thing of the Sontaran is that, like, it looks like a suit of armour.
It does.
It's grey and black
Well,
and metallic. And that's kind of the charm of it, is it's like this knight from the stars arrives and he's like, you'll help me fix this stuff, and in return I'll give you some one-ups. I'll give you some, anachronistic weaponry to help you fight off the castle that you want to claim. So that's why it works. Sontaran Experiment was a fun little 2-part deviation in Series 12, we found a Sontaran on Earth during a period where Earth isn't occupied, on the eve of people coming back to Earth, like, it's conducting experiments on the crew of crashed ships.
Mm-hmm.
Because what they're trying to do is sort of figure out the weakness of Earth at this point in time, and Earthlings and humans, and exploit it so that they can kind of utilise Earth as a planet or a weapon or a battleground in the future in their ongoing, never-ending war against the Rutan host, which we have, to this day, still never actually seen on TV between them. Because we met Rutan.
Yeah.
Horror Fan Rock. Ah!
One of...
Best slap in television history.
I am not, like, kidding around or being overdramatic when I say that is one of the best moments in TV history. It literally is.
Leela just slapping the hysterical
her
lady
face
in the lighthouse.
And the fact that nobody reacts to it is just the funniest thing in the world. And I don't know what they were going for at that moment.
Magic, that's what they were going for.
Well, they got it. They nailed it.
And just Louise Jameson's look of, oh, for God's sake, just before she slaps her in that split second, it's so good.
I mean, she's doing what everybody was thinking.
Yeah. But to the point where when the slap happens, no one reacts because they're just like, good, moving on. Well, yeah, so
thanks for bringing that good memory back.
Oh, such a great story.
It's a good story.
So, the Sontaran fleet, led by General Stahl the Undefeated, played, like, deliciously by Christopher Ryan, who's having a ball playing this role. Oh, it's just...
I question your description.
It is to be commended for any actor who doesn't normally work with prosthetics. It is commendable that they leap into it and go, all right, I'm going to perform through this physical restriction around my body.
Yeah.
And Christopher Ryan had been in the show before, because he'd played. I'm going to double check the character's name, but he was in bloody hell, Trial of the Time Lord year. What's the bloody story called?
Trial of the Time Lord.
Mind Warp.
Right.
Perry's seemingly last appearance.
Oh.
He was Kiv.
The one with Brian Blessed.
Sill's associate. He was the second slug.
Oh.
So that's Christopher Ryan. Now, he was cast in that not because of his size and stature, like compared to Sill's actor, but Christopher Ryan is quite a short actor. I mean, the thing you probably know Christopher Ryan the most from, most people know him the most from, is The Young Ones. Is he Mike in The Young Ones? Yeah. He's a short guy.
Right.
So, in that, you'll notice that character, Kiv, was slightly bigger than Sill.
Yeah.
But that's because he was set into, like, the mechanics of the chair and stuff. Yeah. Whereas here, he's playing a Sontaran, which sort of traditionally, at least in their first 2 appearances, have sort of a stockier build, and then there's a few stocky ones in The Invasion of Time.
Yeah.
2 Doctors that just give up on that. It's like, here's 7-foot-tall Sontarans, why not? So, they obviously went here to go for the shorter thing and go for the full-on prosthetics. There's no chances of the mouth or the eyes kind of being seen through holes. There's no static face with just like the tongue sticking out or whatever. Yeah. It is a full facial prosthetic. It's the best they've looked since the Time Warrior to me. I like the look in Sontaran Experiment.
Sorry.
I like the look in Sontaran Experiment, but Link's in the Time Warrior, you just remember the tongue, aren't you? Yeah? Yeah. But
God's sake.
But Link's in the Time Warrior is still my favourite look for the Sontarans. Like that really dark skin, the bristles on the chin, the whiskers, and even just like the little tongue inflection. Just the idea that it's kind of that sort of
subtle.
It's almost like they don't look reptilian, but it's sort of like a lizard. It's just the tongue kind of just sort of
tasting the air.
Yeah, and that happens in this. You see Dan Starkey, who plays Commander Score the Bloodbringer, making his Doctor Who debut in this story, and that is him under that helmet, by the way, for those who are wondering if that's the Trooper figure. Nope, that's a Score. I just put the helmet on because it looks nice. Because there will be someone in the comments going, you can get Score. I've got him. That's Stalin Score.
Don't say that when you drink.
He's a massive fan of the original run, and you can see it in the performance of Score.
Definitely.
Score is not played as an imitation of any previous Sontarans.
No.
But his physicality, you sort of see, he leans a lot into sort of his tongue against his teeth and everything, and it's like, he's putting the little flourishes in there, which is nice. Whereas Christopher Ryan is sort of, Stahl is played with this brilliant sort of, He's like a grown-up who's never been around children, or hasn't been around young children in a very long time. And is just baffled by how they're behaving. Like, he's like an angry granddad being forced to listen to his grandson explain what TikTok is.
Oh, no.
Do you know what I mean? He's got these... He has that slightly sort of... He's leaning back and his eyes are always sort of like, you freaking what, mate? Do you know what I mean? So, like, Rattigan's talking about whatever, the Doctor's talking about whatever, and his entire demeanour is sort of like, this makes no sense to me. I find you irritating. You're just like, yeah, all right, sure. Do you know what I mean? To the point where I have posed him in that slight lean where he's like, you effing what, mate? That he seems to have for most of the story.
If it's something they would say, it'd be like, shut up and go away. That kind of thing. But that's not eloquent enough for a Sontaran.
Interesting to see the Sontaran sexism continues. Words are the weapons of women folk. We have no use for them and all that sort of stuff. You're like, ooh, all right.
Yeah, try it.
Which gets a little confused because I'm pretty sure we'll get to it in later seasons, but I'm pretty sure that the character of Strax is female.
Really?
I might be wrong. I know there's a running joke with Strax, also played by Dan Starkey later. There's a running joke that Strax misgenders people out of idiocy. Like, it's not ignorance, it just doesn't seem to... He seems to have, like, all of the associated traits of gender set in the wrong way in his head.
Right.
And it's played for comedy, but it's... I'm pretty sure at some point he's referred to, like... He refers to... Well, or they refer to themselves as a young girl or whatever. I don't know. We'll get around to it, but... That's weird that becomes, like, a thing later, whereas Sontarans are sort of depicted as aggressive male archetype to the point where they mock female members of the species or female-identifying members of the species for being inferior. You know what I mean? It's weird that I'm defending that as a point, but it's... Do you know what I mean? It's more like they're bad guys and they're arseholes.
Yeah.
And that's, like... confusing the arsehole part of them later for comedy is a bit like... And that's the other thing too. With a bit of foresight, which we shouldn't really dwell on this too much, this is the first and last time, as of the recording of this video, he says, knowing things from the internet, this is the first and last time, as of this recording in June 2021, that the Sontarans are a credible threat in the modern series. Oh. It's also the only as of June 2021, it is the only Sontaran story of the modern series.
Yeah, I guess
the Sontarans appear.
Yeah.
We get Christopher Ryan plays a different Sontaran general in The Pandorica Opens. Strax, of course, is a recurring character throughout the Moffat era. Mm. We have a couple Sontarans played by Dan Starkey in Matt Smith's last story, and it's one of my least favourite uses of the Sontarans ever. Because by that point it's just like, they're all comedy! That's what they are! It's like, they're not, though. They shouldn't be.
They really weren't, either.
Out of the show canon, like, I guess the last time within the worlds of the TV show as broadcast that they were used in the Gunpowder Plot. They're the antagonists of the Gunpowder Plot game.
Yeah.
And
oh
they
my
are...
God. The dog will not stop farting.
So you're going to go,
sorry.
Oh my God, I'd forgotten you were in that game.
That one.
It's like,
no, I've not forgotten.
The dog farted.
She keeps farting. I'm so sorry.
You were there for the recording of that, weren't you?
I was. Yeah, I was sat on the sofa in the...
Big Finish Studio.
Big Finish Studio, yeah.
I was trying to remember.
And everybody was so nice.
They were lovely. Lovely team. Amazing. It's an archetype and a stereotype at this point, but seriously, the lunches, incredible.
I think I was just too scared to move, or too scared to breathe.
It was you and Gary Russell, and I think Toby the engineer in just the...
Was Gary there?
Yeah. Because he directed the voices for that game.
Oh.
And that's also the only time visually in official Doctor Who merchandise / spin-off stuff, like that's official, that you see the Sontarans and the Rutans at war with each other, because both of them are in that game.
I remember trying to play it, but my computer was not
up to
speed, so it would lag really, really badly. So I was like, I just need to get to the point where Christopher talks, and then I can turn it off. It's painful. Speaking
of getting to the point, Sontarans, they're using the Atmos. Anyone who's died because of it, they've used it to kill people off who were getting too close, because essentially they are planning to wipe out humanity.
Yes.
And I can't remember if it's turn Earth into a weapon or terraform it so it can become a cloning facility.
I think it's the cloning thing, isn't it? No, they just want to destroy it, don't they?
Because that's the whole thing with the gas. Is that
oh yeah,
is that resetting the atmosphere so that they can
breathe that with that, can't they?
Well, so the Sontarans can they can breathe on our planet or on our surface, but I don't know if it's either way. They want to kill everybody on the planet, so they can make use of the planet. The planet is a strategic benefit to the war, as far as this fleet is concerned.
Yes.
And that's their plan. They've conspired with Luke Rattigan to develop Atmos. What he thinks is in it for him is that they've found a planetoid. They're going to send him and his school of geniuses that he runs. Mm-hmm. They've all been secretly, without realising that it's for this purpose, making terraforming equipment so that they can start a new life. But then you find, obviously, in part 2 of Poison Sky that they've been lying to him. And also when he's confronting all the other students in his best scene in the story, to be fair, because it's proper deranged in this scene.
Yeah.
They're like, so hang on, what are we going to do about the future population? He's like, well, I'll have like a mating schedule put out. It's like, oh great, so like we'll be scheduled to mate, will we?
Gross.
Yeah, jog on. And it's just, and there's no, it's not played for creep factor on his behalf in terms of that. It's not played for like sexual creep factor. He's literally like, don't worry, we'll get there, and then like, you know, we'll have babies, and we'll have babies, and we'll have babies, and then this, and it's like, do you hear yourself? Like, do you hear yourself, you absolute freak? Like, what are you doing? And I love the scene where the Doctor challenges him on his ego.
Yeah.
So it's been a very long time since anybody said no to you, hasn't it? And it's just, the moment he speaks to Luke, he starts toying with him because he wants to make sure that, like, you know, Is this kid completely in charge of his faculties? Is he brainwashed? Because obviously the Sontaran use of like mind control is back in this as well. But from the earlier Sontaran stories.
I also think that he was like killing his ego a little bit, just so he could, get some control over him.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like somebody going, well, no.
Yeah.
No, I am smarter than you. You poo.
You big poo.
That kind of thing. Because he is essentially a kid.
Yeah.
And like the doctor said, nobody's really said no to him. I think that scene's played really well. The doctor really comes out at that moment, I think.
This is the first story, too, where Donna isn't the focus, but she gets a really good arc in this. It's the first time she pops back home and we get the really fun... fun, I'm leaving fake out.
Oh my god, I love it. It's so funny.
It's like... what was it? Big, outer space, dance. The doctor's thinking it's a whole leaving spiel, which of course means we get to spend more time with Sylvia and Wilf and checking on them. Yeah. I love all the noble stuff in this story. I think they all behave in a way that makes them a compelling, unique family compared to the previous two. We're not rehashing. There's obviously the Russell T Davies recurring thing of the mums are a bit of a git sometimes, aren't they? But Sylvia's the one who takes the initiative and smashes the car window in to get Wilf out. So
hey, you know what? Good idea.
She'll save her dad. She don't care. She's like, what are you two faffing around for? Come on, let's go. Wilf is lovely. I love the bit where he finally meets the doctor and the penny drops.
It's you.
It's it's you. And tying back into Voyage of the Damned and
so cute.
And and the whole Donna basically saying I'm gonna go with him. I love that bit where Sylvie's stay here, and Wilf's no, you go, because he knows that once she's back with the doctor, they're gonna get shit done and save the day.
Yeah,
I love that,
and it's what she really wants to do.
Freeman Regiment. It's lovely to see Martha back, but she isn't playing Martha for much of this story, is she?
No, she's not. Oh yeah,
she's playing a clone. We get to see the first sort of bit of Sontaran cloning as they clone a human, and I love the little. Because if you are aware of the Sontarans going into this story, the first sort of real indicator you get that this is a Sontaran thing is when you see the two soldiers are faffing around in the lab and you see the clone body being grown and it has an umbilical cord coming out of the back of its neck.
That's so gross.
But it's because their whole thing is they have the probic vent. That's their intake. That's which again is explained so succinctly.
Yeah. In
this, explained so well as I think it's a soldier Ross, lovely Ross, who says it's a weakness. And he's no, it's a good. And the doctor's no, it's a good weakness. No, is it? He says Stahl says Sontarans have no weaknesses. He's no, but it's a good weakness because it means you always have to face your enemy in battle. True. And it's you're the eternal soldiers, and you are genetically built so that the one weakness you have is of no consequence to your philosophy at all. It shouldn't be a problem because you'll never not be facing your enemy.
Yeah.
I just think it's a really neat story.
It is a good story, and do you know what? I really love the design of the Sontaran thing.
Yes, let's talk about them, boys. Because we get a few redesigns in this. We get to properly spend time with Unit for the first time in the modern era.
Yeah.
We've touched base with them a little bit here and there. We've seen the black uniform with the red beret redesign for a lot of the foot soldiers. We get to meet Colonel Mace and a few of the others that are at the top of it at the moment. So we get a sense of where Unit are. But the Sontarans, as you say, are the ones that get the most drastic redesign.
Yeah.
And you love it.
Because their armor
Again, just a reminder, this is June 2021. I just have to stress that before we go into this discussion about this being the redesign for the Sontarans.
I have no idea what Christmas song is.
No, but you can probably figure it out based on what I'm inferring. Okay.
Oh, God.
What do you mean?
Is it a bad thing?
Oh, no, they look great.
Oh.
But it's not official yet.
Okay. All right. Anyway, yeah. So
in fact, while you tell us about the costume, and I'll pull it up and show it to you.
When the classic characters are in like a grey and gunmetal armour. But in these, they're like blue. So, I don't know. How stupid do I say that? I never like blue. Oh my
They're
god.
like the blue.
They're actually
Oh my god.
blue. Have you heard of blue? No, they look really sleek. They look really modern. It's kind of like they've updated themselves with the times for Earth.
Yeah.
And I just think they look really, really cool. Really sleek.
The cast rubber suits as well, sort of, it makes them identical, because obviously the downside of the earlier costumes is that when you're in stories like The Two Doctors and The Invasion of Time, everyone's clearly a different body type.
Yeah.
Whereas here they have cast everyone is like 5'1", 5'2".
Mm.
Like they've gone for very short actors that they can all have a similar build. Then once they're in the suits, they look like these little muscle. They're sort of like Puck or Wolverine, like Marvel characters that are short, stocky, built, and like that's sort of that's their stock size. You don't see them run around a lot, and that's probably due to the limitations of the bottom half of the costume, because with it being sculpted, it's rubber. It's a big sculpted rubber costume. If they start running, the crotch and everything's going to buckle in a really weird way. But that's kind of fine, because when they do teleport down to the unit base, to the unit setup at Atmos, it's a complete strategy they've already planned, a stratagem, if you will, that they've already planned. So they just arrive and are like, right, fire, fire, fire. Two of you come this way, let's go, fire, and they're just
loving it.
They're having a ball, and of course the death of Score getting shot in the back and whatnot, because getting shot because he just sort of misinterprets the moment and then dies with a smile on his face because he died in battle.
In battle, yeah.
And that's honourable. And you're like, the effect of that moment, the way it's played by Dan Starkey, is exactly what it should be, which is, this is weird. This is weird that you're happy with this. This is strange.
Yeah.
But it's consistent. It's what the old Sontarans were like.
Exactly.
It's what the new ones are like. Here is what has been seen filming in the last few months on location. Yeah. They're also different heights and sizes as well, but they all have the same stocky build. It's much more armoured, but it's calling back to like sort of Sontaran experiment colour scheme and everything.
It's looking dead into camera. It's just looking straight into the camera.
Hello, it's me!
I'm a potato!
Well, we don't know what they look like underneath yet.
Definitely.
That may have been redesigned, like the eye holes and everything. It's way more season 12 again kind of look.
Is that the same?
Yeah, same night.
Oh my god, I love it. That looks great. It looks a bit Stargate-ish.
Yes, like the shoulder plates and everything.
Yeah, I've forgotten what they're called, the evil guys in Stargate.
Now, we won't dwell on that, because what we're talking about is a thing that, as of this recording, isn't out yet. But
yeah.
Oh, but yeah.
Yeah, that's promising. But this design, in particular, is very nice.
You like?
I like it. I like it a lot.
The figures are also fun. Because the top half is on sort of like a swivel from the waist, like a proper like buckled pivot.
Oh,
which many of the other figures don't have, but it's so they can like, you can sort of centre and balance them a little bit. And it means you can have Stahl doing what I've got doing, where he's like leaning back, looking like a sort of really impatient granddad having TikTok explained to him to go back to the original comparison. Sorry?
I forgot to mention, this is something that really grinds your gears.
Yeah.
About certain superheroes. That they take their helmet off. It's not like a button that they press and it's like, Zhoo! They actually take their helmet off.
Yeah, I love that when that actually happens. Like Predator and, early Iron Man, where it's like the plate just goes and slides up. Like, I love that sort of stuff.
Yeah. I just think it's a really cool detail.
Both hands just gripping the side, lifting it up, and it looks good.
And them, I don't know, them stood there with like holding their helmets on their hips almost.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's like soldiers.
It's very soldier-esque. It really is.
I love the continuation.
Like a knight or something. It's really
going back to the first one.
Yeah.
I love the continuation of the sort of the wand. Like the early Sontarans had like a wand. That's what they used.
Like a baton.
Yes, what they used to like laser things and for mesmerism and like
You say mesmerism.
Mesmerism.
That's amazing. I love you.
It's a good word, isn't it? But that's what they do. Think about it. Like, they basically make people function on a task and do that task for a time. And that happens in this, because we have the two soldiers that get captured, and then they are basically programmed to accompany the Martha clone everywhere. Same thing. But in the original stories, it's a little wand with, like, sort of handles, sort of like a garden implement, and it comes out from between their two fingers. And they stash it in the belt. Whereas in this, they've sort of taken it a little further, and they're like, well, General Stahl's a general. He's not going into the field. He's going there from time to time to, like, set things straight, but he's not going into battle himself. He's planning from the ship.
Yeah.
So the wand becomes a baton, and he's like holding it like he's riling up the troops, that kind of thing. But it's still a laser weapon and everything, and it's like, oh, it's so good. It's just a nice progression of the idea. Like the originals had like wands that they pocketed, and then he's got, well, forget a wand, I've got a big stick.
I've got a stick.
I also like their guns. I like the fact they all have standard issue big guns. I like the Cybermen of the modern series too. I really like the Sontaran Stratagem and the Poison Sky. It's a two-parter I enjoy immensely, and I also love that it ends on a cliffhanger. Because watching Tennant and Adjuman and Tate bounce off of each other is such a joy that when the story ended, and it was like, oh, Martha's going to head back off now, isn't this sweet? Oh, it was nice to see her again. Wait, what? And they get catapulted into our next adventure. It's
funny because Martha's like, what are you doing? I want to go home.
I'm not doing anything, yeah! So they get catapulted to the planet Messaline, where they're immediately greeted by some human soldiers who start to catalogue them and take a sample of the Doctor's DNA through this like hand stamp thing where it like scrapes some skin off and takes DNA sample. Before they know it, the machine that it's attached to produces another young soldier,
a very pretty one.
And we seem to think so, considering where we are now.
That's so weird.
It produces another young soldier in the same gear, and she's immediately handed a weapon and everything.
Yeah.
And then chaos happens, so it doesn't happen to Donna or Martha.
Yeah.
But
during what they'd be like.
Yeah, well, there you go. But during the chaos, they get separated. The human forces and the Hath, who have got hold of Martha. And the Hath, these fish-like dudes who have a really cute design.
I love them.
I'm going to say it now. Don't think it was a design that works for. Well, the story's trying to trick you into thinking they're the baddie.
Yeah.
They immediately do not look like the baddie. I am immediately sympathetic toward the Hath.
No, I think that maybe they were trying to play off of, oh, they look different.
But they're still like upright in boiler suits and army gear. Do you know what I mean? It's just, and we never really see them wielding weapons in an aggressive way, and it's just, I don't know. I think there are some misses on this story from the top, and that's one of them to me. Stephen Greenhorn writes a pretty fun script, and I'm going to say it now. This was, for Series 4 in the past, that sort of story where I'm like, skip or do something else when it's on. Rewatching it for our marathon, probably the first time in over 10 years I've watched this story. It's got a really nice script. The pacing is really nice. It rollicks along at a decent pace. The Martha side plot is maybe the strongest bit of it for me.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Because I feel like a lot of the Doctor and Donna's conversations are just, she's your daughter, she's not my daughter. But she is, though. But she's not, though. You'll never be my daughter. Am I your daughter? You're not my... It feels like that happens 5 times.
Yeah.
That's a bit annoying, but the actual dialogue, the genuine sort of curiosity fighting against sort of programming and tradition that Georgia Moffat plays off as Jenny, the Doctor's daughter, the titular Doctor's daughter, is really charming. Like, it genuinely is really charming.
Yeah,
and like, I think what this story suffers from the most is being a one-part story.
Yeah.
I feel like it could be a two-parter.
Do you think it rushes it?
I think the Hath should be more stereotypically terrifying. Like, you should be like, what the hell are those things? Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, weevil-looking kind of creatures. Something that's really sort of, God, what is that? And all of part one is dealing with the Doctor and Donna starting to piece together the mystery of why there is a war in this sort of pristine but, converted to barracks, like, underground city.
Yeah.
Like, it should be them dealing with that, and also this whole thing of, like, so what is Jenny? Is Jenny... Because they touch on it, but a two-parter could give it more weight. The idea of... she's technically a part-time Lord, right?
Mm.
Like, you're not alone anymore.
Yeah.
And he, of course, is like, no, reject it. Time Lords are much more than that. Like, it's not just a bit of DNA, and it's like, okay, alright. But you could explore that a bit more. And then you could start part two with finally... have a cliffhanger at the end of part one that's on their side of things.
Yeah.
And then spend the first half of part two showing us what happened to Martha and learning about the Hath. And do you know what I mean? So then the stories midway through part two finally intersect again.
Yeah.
And you could really play with the whole thing of, like, you, the viewer, spent a week going, oh my god, like, Martha got kidnapped by those monsters. And then, of course, you see it and you're like, I judge them based on appearance, this is wrong. Whereas in this, I don't think you can judge them based on appearance too much, because they look different, but they don't look scary.
They're cute.
I love her never-ending story sequence.
No, I hate that.
With the Hath on the surface, because it is genuinely traumatic.
It is.
Especially because we kind of get a sense of a phobia of Martha's as well.
Yeah.
She's terrified of drowning. Or at least, like,
sinking,
asphyxiating. like she is terrified. Like, we've never seen her act like that.
Yeah.
This is the woman who survived the year that never was, walking the earth and dodging, the Master's forces and everything. Like, nothing phases her. She loses her cool so much in this moment that I'm like, oh, that's an interesting little note. Like, she's as petrified of like quicksand or drowning in water as Sarah Jane apparently is of slight inclines.
Yeah, terrified of falling down a small ramp.
Don't worry, John Pertwee's here with that rope that you definitely need to get back up that small ramp.
Oh!
I love the Five Doctors. If anyone's watching this and going, oh, don't slag off the Five Doctors, go back and watch a Five Doctors episode. I am not slagging off the Five Doctors. I freaking love the Five Doctors. That moment is
just so funny. There's so many moments in that.
It was meant to be an auton attack at that moment. I think I mentioned that back when we recorded it.
Yeah.
So, seriously, guys, if you want to fake that it's a steep thing, just tilt the camera. Just tilt the camera a bit.
But do you know what? Liz Sladen went for it.
She
went for it.
Do you want to feel even worse about everything? So the Hath, two of them have credited names.
Oh.
One of them is Martha's mate. No, it's not that. That's how you spell it. One of them is Martha's mate, and it's called Peck.
Oh no!
So it's got a name. The Hath that drowns has got a name.
He has a name. He has a family.
I think Nigel Terry as Cobb.
Now he has a bench with his name on.
Nigel Terry as Cobb is an interesting... Because he's sort of the closest thing, really, we get to an antagonist in this episode, the head of the human forces. And I think he plays it quite well, but when the twist of the story is revealed, which is a pretty great twist... I mean, there's a bit of explanation that confounds me, and maybe someone in the comments smarter than me can figure it out and let me know. But, like, Donna, and again, brilliant use of a character's individual skill, Donna's, like, temping skills help her realise, because she's good on quick math and cataloguing.
Sorry, what?
Her temping skills, she's good on quick maths and cataloguing.
That's better.
What?
You said math.
No, I said maths.
You said math.
No, I said maths. I was just out of breath because I'm a large man and easily knackered.
Well, you said math.
It's new maths. And Lego is called Lego, folks, not Legos. Anyway.
Multiple of Lego is Lego. Sorry.
Like sheep. Unless you want to say sheepsies, which is just cute. Anyway.
Sheeples.
Donna figures out that the markings at the different parts of the facilities aren't, like, timestamps of when they were, like when people were there last or whatever. The timestamps of when they were built.
Yeah.
And
the thing is that people don't really pay attention to them, do they? So.
Yeah. She works out that their dates, and then works out the terraforming device that began all this, or the thing that they're all after, because they're all after this, like, the MacGuffin that will apparently win the war. Yeah. When the Doctor and Donna learn more about it with Jenny, they realise that no, it's a terraforming facility, and the closer you get to it, the more you realise that the extension out into other territories happened over a matter of a week. This war started a week ago, not not years ago. Generations ago, accurate, because people have been dying and they've been cloning more soldiers, like making more soldiers with their machines, like every day. And people have been dying. Although we never see really any casualties. That's like proper casualties of war. The one sort of on screen, the two on screen deaths we get are plot specific. You know what I mean? Yeah. Drowny, and shooty, bleedy. So it's like that's. Wow. I don't know. There's stuff that does not work in this that a two-parter could have helped flesh out and make more solid, I think. But I didn't hate it on this revisit.
God's sake.
Lucy's playing Assassin's Creed Valhalla while we talk, in case you're wondering why she keeps saying, "Oh, for God's sake."
Oh, for God's sake. I don't know. I love the. I keep wanting to say Hoix.
Hath.
I love the Hath. I love the design.
Hoix is Scooby-Doo Chase the Steak Boy.
I know. Because when we started watching, I was like, "Oh yay, the Hoix!" You're like, "No, that's not the Hoix, my dear." No. Anyway, I forgot what I was going to say.
Hath.
Oh yeah, no.
Lovely Hath.
I love the Hath.
Tasty Hath.
I think Martha's really, really good in this.
Yeah.
Jenny is like badass. I cannot disassociate the fact that they are married.
Eventually, but yeah.
From this scenario, and it's like, oh, I'm kind of uncomfortable, but that's not the fault of the episode. Something that really grinds my gears is that lead guy, the leader of the
Cobb.
Yeah. Why is he older?
That's the thing I was going to point out. Why is he much older now? Is he somebody from the original ship or whatever?
But he can't, because he would realise that it was only a week ago.
No, but like, does he ever get the whole thing of that can't be possible? Or is his reaction more, oh God, they found me out?
No, because
like, are we dealing with a guy who basically is like just wants to win? Are we dealing with essentially a xenophobe? Are we dealing with a racist?
I don't know.
He's like, I just want to wipe out the Hath, and I will tell any old bullshit to these soldiers that's been going on for decades, just so that we can have the benefit. Because of course, ultimately, when they get to the thing, and it's in like Eden Centre style greenhousey area, the Doctor's thing is like, right, here's what you're after. It's a terraformer. It belongs to both sides of this. It belongs to both of you. Work together. You can both live here. Like, that's what it was meant for in the first place.
Yeah.
Whereas Cobb could very much be like, nah, I hate. He could be a giant flaming space racist. You know what I mean? And he's just like,
goddamn space racist.
I hate the Hath, and I'm gonna claim this for us because I hate them because they're dirty. And, whatever. That might be where they're going. It's not made clear enough.
No.
So if he is indeed also just one of the generational soldiers, that implies that either he was randomly birthed as an older man,
which makes no sense,
or they age rapidly. In which case, Jenny will be dead in like 2 days. Oh no, she's dead instead because Cobb shoots her out of defiance. That's what I mean. It's almost like he's like, oh, I've been rumbled, and then he kills her.
But I mean, neither scenario makes sense.
No, it doesn't. It's all there so that the Doctor can have a tragic, I never would moment, but still have him holding the gun so that you've got a trailer shot.
I mean, I think that's a bit much for kids.
Oh, it's a lot.
Having the Doctor pointing a gun at a man's face. I don't know why I'm shouting. Sorry. How could you? No, I think.
But also, like,
thinking about it now as we're talking about it, I'm a bit like.
There's some bad decisions in here. I think as a 45-minute piece of TV, it bounces along quite nicely, and it's not as bad as I remember.
Right.
But yeah, there are holes.
Yeah.
And Jenny is clearly killed off so that they don't have to answer any of the questions they put forward about what it means to him now that there is someone who is essentially family. But of course, he's like, by the end, before that happens, he's resigned to the idea of like, come with us. Like, come on, why not?
Yeah.
Like, because he's warmed up to her. And then they kill her off. But then you get, like, the pre-credits, post-credits stinger, where...
They're all jovial.
She regenerates.
Oh.
Oh, because they drop Martha off, and we get to see...
And they're like, hey, let's go to our next adventure!
Do we get to see Francine really briefly, or am I hallucinating?
I think it's through the window.
Yeah. But Jenny sort of, like, sort of regenerates.
But it doesn't change.
Yes, yeah, so almost like what she's picked up from him is, like, the ability to heal. You know what I mean? Like, maybe that's limited or whatever, but, like, she regenerates. She nicks a rocket in a scene that really feels like they just filmed it separately one afternoon to add it on.
Like, oh, we needed a little bit of extra time.
And then she buggers off to the stars. And it's like, you know what? Like, in hindsight, again, sure, whatever, fine. Because it's just this weird little sweet idea that, like, she's off out having an adventure somewhere. But rewatching it now as, like, we're watching this series... If I didn't know what the future was already, I'd be like, so she's going to be back in the finale.
Yeah, and we were talking about
this. It feels like it's set up for something later. Because we also, not in this one, in Poison Sky, got our second bit of, like, thread baiting when the monitor's all crackling and while Donna isn't looking at it, we briefly see Rose in the monitor.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, we're building up toward a season thing. And it's obviously we realise later, no, the season arc was... partially Rose and partially the subtle references to planets going missing and the bees disappearing. Like, these are the things that later on you find out actually mean something.
Yeah.
Which is kind of clever. But, it's sort of, I don't know.
But the thing is, though, we were talking about that, like, oh, I wonder why they've never brought her back. That's so weird. And then, probably, like, the day after, Big Finish announced that they were doing a story with...
Well, they've had some, but, like, they're doing another one with her in the park,
and it's like, what the heck? That's so spooky. They did it because we suggested it. Copyright.
No.
Us.
No. If there is a gap to be filled, they will bring the filler.
We will bring the filler.
Alice Troughton's direction's really good for it, though. Like, it sort of... For the sort of very limited location use, it doesn't feel... It feels like it should. The outside top surface world feels poisonous and scary, and all the interior locations feel like you're in a city that's crammed underground.
Yeah.
Speaking of things that should be crammed underground,
what?
We're not going to bring up the writer of this next story. We've already touched base about it before.
Yeah.
We're purely talking about the story, the script itself, and the performances. Any praise for the story is not an endorsement of the rather harmful views of its writer. Which always turned out to be a shame, because, like, I met him once or twice, and he seemed very nice. And I was like, oh, great. But hey. The Unicorn and the Wasp! Your turn. I've done the plots for the last two, your turn.
The Doctor wants to take Donna to see something that's not, aliens and, scary situation. So they go to a party. What year is it set in?
It is set in the year of our Lord, 1926.
So it's, tea parties in the garden with your flapper dress and your beads.
Flapper or slapper?
Oh, yeah.
She says that, doesn't she, Donna? Flapper or slapper, and he's like, just kidding, you look lovely. It's like a really sort of like, aww, mates supporting mates.
Yeah,
we are here for it.
Positivity. And it's that classic thing of the companion dresses up to match the time period, and the Doctor's just like, eh.
Yeah. Well, she never brings it up.
No.
Which I love. I mean, come on. Like, Martha at that moment in again, same bloody writer, Shakespeare Code, she's like, can we not, like, what do we do about that? And he's like, just walk around like acting like you're the place, it'll be fine. And then obviously you got Rose in Unquiet Dead.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Like, when they arrive and he's like, go out like that, dress like that, you start a riot, Barbarella, go and get whatever. Then she gets changed and he's really complimentary and then dismissive. Like, you look beautiful, considering what? That you're human. Like, oh, thanks. What about you not changing? Change my jumper, come on. It's like, god damn, that's great.
So
Best Doctor. Still. Anyway, point is...
So they end up at this party.
Yeah, a party of Lady Clemency Edinson.
And the Doctor's like, oh yeah, we met at this that thing with what's her face, and the woman's like the hostess of the party is like,
Lady Clemency.
oh yeah, sorry, I do apologise.
Lady Edison.
I apologise that I forgot who you were. I'm so sorry. You know, just it's one of those. Oh, keep up appearances. Oh,
well, yeah. And also, you want us to be careful about all this because the Master Thief, the Unicorn, has apparently been spotted within the county.
Now, that is a bizarre name, don't you think, for
a thief?
That you give a thief. But yeah, anyway. So the different guests are coming into the party, and the Doctor's like, "Yeah, hello, I'm the Doctor," all that stuff. And oh no, doesn't Donna go like? Yes, what?
Spiffing top hole. He's like, no, don't do that. Just also, random little note. I'd totally forgotten about this when we watched it. So there's an elderly footman, an older footman amongst all the staff who you only see a few times. Yeah. He's uncredited, but he's played by Alexander MacDonald, who was a Scottish minister of the Church of Scotland.
Okay.
And he passed away a few years ago, but he's also David Tennant's dad.
No!
So there's a cameo.
Oh my god, how cute!
That's cute. Let's list the cast off now so we can get it out of the way, because otherwise it'll be a biggie before we go into the plot proper. So, Fenella Woolgar is, for those who are wondering, which episode is this again? It's the Agatha Christie one.
I was leading up to
but we'll do that. But Fenella Woolgar is Agatha Christie. Felicity Kendall is Lady Edison.
What's she been in?
A million bloody things. I think for you it'll probably be like Rosemary and Thyme, stuff like that, maybe, that you've seen her in.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, hang on. The Good Life. The Good Life.
Oh,
there you go.
I keep spitting. What is wrong with me?
Felicity Jones is Ravina Redmond. Christopher Benjamin. Henry Gordon Jago himself returning. Another actor returning to the show across the classic modern divide. Christopher Ryan and Christopher Benjamin. Playing Colonel...
The actor that plays Benson is in this.
Kirbishley. Nope. That doesn't even make sense in any way. Go back and watch our Third Doctor videos to understand.
Sorry, yeah.
Tom Goodman Hill plays the Reverend Golightly. Such a great... that sounds like a Agatha Christie name. Like some of the one of her books. The Reverend Arnold Golightly. Ian Barrett is Professor Peach. I love that, because it's a character who's in it very briefly, and he's called Professor Peach. I love it. In terms of notables, like there's your notables. Everyone in this does a cracking job.
Yeah.
Does a really, really, really good job, but especially Fenella Woolgar as Agatha Christie, who rocks at the party. What happens?
The kind of the maid.
Mm-hmm.
Goes to get somebody for dinner, I think, isn't it? The Professor Peach.
Miss Chandrakala, played by Lena Dingra.
Yeah, goes to get Professor Peach, doesn't she?
Yes, in the library, only to find out that he's been killed with a lead pipe. It's like, you what?
And they're like, come on.
What?
Come on.
Yeah, Donna's like, me, Professor Peach, in the library with a lead pipe? Next you'll be telling me that like Charles Dickens hung around with ghosts. He's like, well...
At Christmas.
At Christmas, yeah, well... She's like, oh, no. Next you'll be telling me Noddy's real.
Oh my god, it's Noddy real.
He was eating blind and having tea with Noddy. Where he's Noddy real? Oh my god, is Noddy real? Noddy's not real.
That's so funny. Why would Noddy be real? It's so silly.
Love that.
And yeah, so they're trying to figure out, and
essentially,
has anything been stolen at that point?
No, yeah, but that's the thing. Agatha Christie sneaks a bit of evidence she spots at the scene.
A piece of paper.
Everyone sort of jumps to the conclusion that, because you're a mystery writer, and at this point she's released 6 books. You're a mystery writer.
What would Poirot do?
Who? It's like, No, I think Poirot's around at this point. Miss Marple's not around, because they make a reference to Miss Marple. The Doctor's like, no, not yet.
And Donna's like,
copyright. Yeah, it's like 10% of everything. Adorable, right? Okay. But yeah, so there's because she's got a great mind for dissecting these sorts of things, because she creates murder mysteries for her books. So will she help while they're waiting for help to arrive, the authorities to arrive, and the Doctor's investigating, and essentially it turns into a whodunit.
Yeah.
With the Doctor and Agatha Christie sharing top billing as, like, the detective.
Yeah.
And I love how they're kind of like, murder mystery with Agatha Christie, brilliant! And she's like, well, I'm glad you find this funny. I was like, oh, yeah.
A man's been murdered.
Yeah, you're right, quite right, yeah. And it's like, yes, good! Put them in their place! Like, it's novel to us, the viewer, to see this.
Yeah.
But people still die. And I love that it shows she's not flippant about that sort of stuff. Like, you know, she's not thinking of grisly murders because she's like, oh, that'd be cool.
Yeah, she's not thinking, oh, I can put this in my next book, you know.
She's thinking of the actual weight of it all and what it means. And it sort of shows you that in her books it's not flippant fancies to just be thrown out as like, oh, this would be a juicy little murder mystery. Like, you're meant to care about the people in the stories. You're meant to feel sad when bad things happen and feel good when the bad guys get their comeuppance. And, like, that's... The script and the performance for Agatha Christie do a great job in really solidifying her as a human. Oops. And they also pick an interesting time because it's like with a couple of other stories before us, in the classic era and this era, it's based on a real period in the person's life.
Yeah.
And it's filling in a gap. So, again, the script writer did this with the Shakespeare Code. Mm-hmm. Where we know from evidence that exists in the real world that he was working on, or at least toyed with, writing a sequel to Love's Labour's Lost called Love's Labour's Won.
Yeah.
So that episode deals with, oh yeah, no, it was real. And here's what happened to it. And it's similar here. Agatha Christie, she found out that her husband was committing adultery. At the time, it's not a thing to talk about.
Yeah, it's quite
so they were
taboo.
just sort of spending time apart.
Yeah.
And then she went missing for like 2 weeks.
I think it was a couple of days.
It was a couple of days, that's it. She went missing, and when she was found, it was like at a guest house somewhere, and she had no recollection of the last couple of days.
Yeah.
So the sort of fanciful belief had been that maybe she was that stressed or like her anxiety or whatever had gotten so much out of her that she just hunkered down somewhere after driving around for hours.
Or she like drank her way into...
What I'm saying is that she had found somewhere and she just like essentially was in a bit of a... was having a mad one essentially. Or got really, really drunk. Or like she did something to, you know, numb the pain or the anxiety and... Came out of it like, I honestly have no... I mean, it's possible she tried to over-medicate. Like, we don't know. She did something. And she wasn't...
Well, now we know what she did.
Well, yeah, this story's like, here's what happened, because it involves a psychic link with our Monster of the Week. So we get the great whodunit interviews, which is one of the best sequences in it, where you sort of... Everyone gives their alibi as to where they were during the original murder, and you see that not everyone's being truthful. Everyone seems to be doing something, like Lady Edison is actually in another room looking up something, and it's like, well, what's that about? And later on we find out, because it's like her reminiscing about a certain part of her life, and, you know, we have... oh, God, what's his name? Thingy Rushby. Kirbishley, sorry, Colonel Kirbishley is, like, basically looking at... like pin-up
like Playboy almost, yeah.
And then flashing back to days watching like Chorus Girls and stuff. It is so much fun to have Christopher Benjamin in this.
Yeah.
It's just such a great addition because it's like he was a blast in The Talons of Weng Chiang, and it's like to have him back as another character who completely different, but there's that air of that sort of that pomp and ceremony about him.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, Jago's a bit of a, you know, he's sort of trying to convince everyone that he's important and everything.
Yeah.
This guy is like, no, I'm absolutely important. It was a wonderful time. I'm back when I was in India. There's the war. It's just, he plays it so bloody well. And then, like, you know, just little things like we see Miss Redmond, like, she's obviously doing something a little, what's she up to there? By the end of it, we learn that, yes, the infamous...
But,
no.
Oh,
no. No. Go on.
Is it Mrs. Redmond? Miss Redmond that's the...
Rogue One.
Celebrity?
No. Celebrity?
Yeah, a celebrity. Oh, no, the celebrity's...
Agatha Christie.
Agatha Christie. The socialite that's come, she says, oh, yeah, I was in the toilet. And then straight away, little Miss... Thinky Think here was like, nay, having forgotten the episode.
You forgot the twist.
It was like...
Which really isn't a twist, because when it happens, it's
toilet?
like, well, now we've explained that. Anyway, moving on.
A lady of the time would not say toilet.
Yeah, which then Agatha Christie pulls up
Powder
later.
room.
Yeah.
And it was like, I am Agatha Christie.
Felicity Jones auditioning for her role of the Black Cat in the Amazing Spider-Man franchise, which never happened properly. Because she's in Amazing Spider-Man 2. She's the Osborn secretary, and she's referred to as Felicia. And it's because they were like, well, we're going to build her up to be Black Cat later. It's like, yeah, why? Why? That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Like, just have her play Black Cat in a movie. Like, that makes more sense, surely.
Yeah.
Makes me laugh, because I think Felicity Jones is a brilliant actor. I think she's very, very, very good. But the thing is, it always makes me laugh watching Rogue One. Because she's seen as such a she's dangerous, she's a criminal and a smuggler and all this, but she's like the most received pronunciation, posh, like petite, pretty white brunette girl, and it just sort of doesn't really fit. The way she performs as Jyn Erso doesn't really fit how she's built up in the opening act of the movie. And yet in this, you have like that brilliant bait and switch thing of like she's spending the whole thing being like, well, of course, how is this, that, and the other? Then she gets revealed, she's like, alright, it's a fake.
Alright, I'm the baddie.
But like, I love that because it's obviously played as a twist in the episode, but it's played as a twist that is not important right now.
I think
because there have been other murders, and there's why have we not talked about this yet? The enemy of this episode is a giant wasp from outer space.
Yeah.
Not a wasp man, not a wasp-like, a big bloody wasp.
An actual wasp, yeah.
Called a vespiform, that is the secret child
it's all very
of
strange.
Lady Edison and a former lover who was presumably also a wasp, but she knew he was an alien.
That's absurd. It is completely absurd. Oh, I don't buy it.
Let's get it on. Let's get it on.
I just saw this gentleman just buzzing around. And...
he had a real buzz about him. Oh, God.
It was strange. He kept calling me honey.
Yeah, I'll allow it.
Thanks.
Oh, God.
I pushed the boat out a bit, though.
It is daft, but it's not played... That stuff is not played for camp. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's the right way to call it. But the rest of the episode is absolutely played up for camp. Graham Harper directs it, which is nice as well, because it's sort of the closest... The other Doctor Who story that's probably closest to this in terms of the televised episodes is Black Orchid. Well nearly remembered.
I was thinking, bring up Black Dahlia, No, that's something completely different.
But Black Orchid, and again, because that's got like a secret son and a shamed secret of the family, and it's part of a big party, high society stuff.
Donna doesn't do the Charleston though, which is disappointing.
No, but she does. She does bring up a Harvey Wallbanger, like
what is that? Is that a drink?
I think so, but it's just this choice of time period to play around with terminology, and I mean that whole sequence with the poison and everything is brilliant.
It is.
The detox is great, even if it is a forced reason to have Donna snog the Doctor so they could put it in the trailers and be like, "Oh, it's another kiss." It's like, in character in that moment, it works brilliantly. It's the whole like, I need a shock. She's like, all right, grabs him and snogs him, but it obviously he's like, what the hell? And it works. And what I love about it is they don't play it up afterwards as like, oh, okay, they're not flustered. It's just like, thanks. Ooh, that worked. Right, moving on.
Well, I see why. No,
I think she just really.
I see why Martha stayed around.
I think she just really liked pickles or whatever it was he downed a jar of. And she was just like,
no, it was like like Winkles or something.
I don't know if it was Winkle. Oh no, it was fish. Yeah,
it was a fishy.
Yeah, maybe she just really likes fish.
Probably. It probably was a Winkle.
Yeah, because it was salt. Yes, it was salt. Yeah, but Winkles, cockles, whitebait, spatchcock.
I really tried had to remember what they were called as well.
You went for Winkles.
Winkles.
Got your Black Dahlia out for your Winkles.
Oh God.
So
That's really tickled me.
So
Winkles.
that stuff's a lot of fun.
Sorry.
The dinner scene is a lot of fun. The tense dinner scene. The idea that he's put
and the lights go out, and then the necklace has been stolen. Lady Edison. It's fun, and we essentially learn that. So it's the Reverend. But that's the least.
It's the Reverend Golightly. He's the secret son. He's the Vesper form, and the reason why he's doing what he's doing, it's kind of sad when you think about it, isn't because he wants to kill everyone. It's to do with like the necklace and all this, like the psychic link that's part of like his inheritance. Yeah. And Lady Edison was reading the works of Agatha Christie like on the night where it all started to fuse and everything. So his way of going about it all is essentially it's been programmed into him that this is the right way to behave. He has lived 40 years on this earth not knowing what he was or even having any violent intent toward anybody. And then suddenly this thing kicks in. And it's like the stress of this burglary at the church and the psychic thing kicking in. So suddenly he's like, he wants revenge. Like, and he's going to play it out like that. So Agatha takes responsibility for that and tries to lure him away because she gets like the necklace and the whole thing of like, he's connected to my stuff, he's connected to me. Yeah. So I'm taking him with me. And when he drowns, like they throw the locket in the lake and the Vesper form drowns, Agatha essentially goes into a state of shock because there's a psychic link there and she freaks out and of course wakes up 2 days later with no memory of what happened. And
but no, the thing is...
moves on with her life.
Oh, yeah. And and she presumably forgets about what happened.
Yeah.
And Donna's like, nobody talked about it, nobody mentioned it. They're like, no, they were too like... stuck up.
Stiff upper lip and all that. Yeah, keep calm and carry on.
Yeah, to mention it. And it's like, but a man died. 2 men died. How could you have kept that secret? I mean, there's a lot of, like, plot holes and shit. And I don't know.
I don't mind it. It works.
A lady gave birth to a wasp. I mean, what?
Well, no, presumably she gave birth to a human baby, but it was a Vesper form waiting to unlock.
I mean, it's just like ridiculous to me. It's a great episode because the Doctor and Donna's...
ends with 10 days later. It says it's 10 days was the gap.
Days, right.
They drop her off at the Harrogate Hotel or near the Harrogate Hotel, so presumably someone finds her and brings her inside.
Or she just ends up there.
Maybe.
Because they follow her, don't they?
Then he whips out his copy of Death in the Clouds. Where the wasps are a plot thread in that, and a lot of the covers, including the original, like depicted it with a wasp on the cover. So there's the idea that maybe something stayed with her, whether she realised it or not. But it also, there's 2 things in this that I quite like. There's the love of there's the love of the author and literature that was in The Unquiet Dead.
Yeah.
Whereas the end of The Unquiet Dead, like Charles Dickens is like really he's having imposter syndrome at that point in his life, and he wonders whether or not any of this has meant anything. And like says the Doctor, like, you know, my books, do they last? And he's like, yeah, how long for? Forever. And it's just a wonderful little moment, like Charles gets that reaffirmation of what he's doing. And in this, Agatha doesn't get it, but that thing of the Doctor like going into this case, beginning with C, and digging out like, you know, the Carrier Knights, which of course is a callback to the scriptwriter's previous episode. But you get that whole thing of like, you know, because she dismisses her work as like, oh, it's daft little stuff, like, whatever. And she can't quite see that, no, the reason people love you is because you're actually really bloody good at this. That's why people love your stuff. It's because they are so compelled by how well you craft your stories. Mm-hmm. She doesn't get that affirmation in this, but obviously the Doctor shows Donna the copy of Death in the Clouds, and it's like an edition printed in like the year 5 billion and 5 billion and 10 or whatever, and it's like, yeah, her books will continue to be published in some form or another. Like, there will always be people who want to read the books of that author. And then also, again, like, to give credit where it is due for this as a script, it continues the tradition of the writer's previous script, where in the Shakespeare Code, there are several titles of Shakespeare's works. Some of the more non-obvious titles are scattered throughout the dialogue. Same here. There's loads of Agatha Christie novel titles scattered throughout the dialogue, hidden away. So, it's not like when you watch Springwatch and they drop like Bowie songs into the links, like, and see if people... There's some of these to do.
When did you watch
No, but this is a game. This is a game that they used to play. Was they put like names of Bowie songs in the links in little hidden places, like really obscure ones, and people at home like they never said it was happening, but it was like, hang on, people started to spot it. They would like play along at home.
Your dad?
My dad, of course, absolutely. But like, so there's a lot of that in this, which is quite fun. I really enjoy this episode.
Did you enjoy it?
Even the daft ending. Did
you enjoy it more than you previously did? Do you think?
No, I think I've always enjoyed the Unicorn and the Wasp. I've always liked it because
it's a fun story. I mean, you know I love my historicals.
You know me, I love my stories.
So yeah, it's fun. But just I don't know, watching it again as an adult, I was like, oh, this is so ridiculous. This is ridiculous even for Doctor Who. So it's not my favourite, but it's still good.
But you got what you were promised. Before Martha leaves the TARDIS and lost the time, I was like, oh, can we Agatha Christie, I bet she's brilliant. And it's turned out to be a tease for the next year. So you knew what you were in for.
I did know.
Sir, kind sir.
And who is British and doesn't like Agatha Christie? Come on now. Everybody loves...
I mean, I bet a bunch of our viewers are of an age where they haven't even considered picking up one of the books.
But I mean, everybody's seen Poirot.
Well, yeah, right? Watch some Poirot, but like...
Even by accident.
If you like it, go and read the books, because then you'll be really annoyed that nearly every adaptation changes something.
Hey, David Suchet is a gem and should be acknowledged as one. He's one of
several great Poirots that we've had, because like the first one in the film adaptations is Peter Ustinov, and he's amazing.
But he is Poirot.
He is Poirot. Sorry, Kenneth Branagh. Anyway, Sontaran Stratagem.
Like Jeremy Brett is Sherlock Holmes.
Sure. I quite like Basil Rathbone. Anyway, point is, Sontaran Stratagem, Poison Sky, The Doctor's Daughter, and The Unicorn and the Wasp. Have you watched them? If you haven't, have you watched this, then a bit of a weird decision you made. What do you think about them? Which are your favourites? Which stuff do you like? Which stuff do you not like?
Do you agree with anything we've said? Do you not agree with anything we've said? Do you like Doctor Who? Do you watch Doctor Who? What do you think?
What's your favourite character in Doctor Who, and why is it Spock? We look forward to correspondence with you, but until next time, gentle listener stroke viewer, and hopefully not stroking viewer.
I was going to say, what the hell?
We'll see you later.
Oh, what a week.
Sonta ha. Ha.
Bye.
Very droll.